everyone, and welcome to Sip and Spin. My name is Skylar, and over here in a cute little striped romper is Brittany.
Hello! We are a variety podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and nothing. And I guess sometimes we teach you things, because that's what's happening today.
Woo!
So what are we talking about today, Skylar?
So today our topic was culture, travel, language. And the way we kind of discussed doing it was that either she could pick a place or I would pick a language, and then she would do either travel or culture for the language I picked, or I could do the language for travel or culture that she picked, because I really like languages and she really likes traveling. So today we are going to be teaching you about some travel in Beijing. And then I will be teaching you some Mandarin.
Yes. Why did you pick Mandarin?
Because it is the language I've been working on the most recently. I started learning it 6 months ago, and it's probably my favorite other than French. Since it was the most recent and one of my favorites, I was like, I kind of want to do it again. And then I was watching a show as well, a new show, not the one I've been rewatching, not my favorite show. The reason I started learning Mandarin was because it's really cheesy. It's kind of cringy, a little nerdy, is because I started watching The Untamed, which is now my favorite television show. I have watched it 12 times. I've seen the animated version of it twice. But then recently I started watching, to me in my brain, it should be Heaven's Official Blessing, but I think it's Heaven Official's Blessing, which is also it's a donghua, and so it is in Mandarin, and it was written by the book, it's based off a book that was written by the same person who wrote Mo Dao Zhi, which is The Untamed. So she wrote both Heaven Official's Blessing and The Untamed. Except I don't remember what Heaven, because I know The Untamed is Mo Da Zhi, but I don't remember what Heaven Official's Blessing is called. It's 10.
I don't know why you're looking at me for clarification.
I forget what it's called. I think I have it written down somewhere, in my notes when I was keeping a list of things I wanted to watch or wanted to read, and so it was in my list, but I don't know what happened to that list. But it was written down in its actual, Mandarin name, but I don't remember what it is. It's been so long. But I know the first word is tian. That's all I remember.
Hey, that's a start. At least you try.
Yeah.
Skylar's very nervous. If you can't tell. But she's gonna do great.
I have babbled a lot.
Yeah, she's nervous, and we'll just do now. She's not an expert. She's not a teacher. So this is just for fun. So
yeah.
Take it, with a little grain of salt.
Yeah, heavy disclaimer. Like I said, I've only been studying Mandarin for 6 months, and I'm not great at it, but I'm learning, I'm getting there, and I'm working hard on it.
She's trying, and she's putting, she has 2 notebooks and 4 books with her, so she's dedicated, and we're all gonna appreciate that.
Oh, yay, thanks.
She's just trying to make you feel better, because you seem very nervous.
It's like I was telling Brittany before we started recording, I was like, this is what I wanted to go to school for, was to teach language, and I wanted to teach abroad and teach English as a foreign language, or teach, just basically work with either English-speaking students who are overseas at that school, or with whatever, if I went to South Korea or Japan, or teach the students there who wanted to learn English as a foreign language. So I'm but then also teach the language that is spoken in whatever country I went to. So hopefully, I did not, because I dropped out of school. So, but that's what I wanted to go to school for. So I don't actually have any official training at all in this.
It'll be good.
We'll see how it goes.
This is our first time doing this category, so if it's a little rough, we'll tweak it for next time.
I stopped myself before I took a drink.
I know, yeah. So let's get into the drinks, because I've already tried to take a drink also. We got red wine for this week, and as the official red wine drinker, I picked what we have. So I went with the classy boxed wine choice.
Nice.
Of a Cab Sauv, and it is Bota Box, which is actually one of the better boxed wines, and I actually buy it quite often because it's cheap and it's decent. thought this was the lighter of the one for you.
Yeah, because I do like Sauvignon Blanc, which is very different, but it's still a Sauv, so...
Yeah. So, here is seeing how Skylar thinks about it.
Cheers.
It's not as bitter as it could be.
It's not bad. It's very red wine, but it's not bad.
Yeah, I picked this one just for you.
I don't hate it.
She can't do my other red wines. So, wow, she doesn't hate it.
I don't hate it.
That's a good start. Good start. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything nice?
How was your day today? I'm not going to ask you about your week because we both had a bad week, but I've had a better weekend. My weekend has been phenomenal.
Yeah, do you want to talk about your weekend?
We can, but I want to hear about your day.
Oh, my day, I clean. I clean on Sundays and I stream. That's my day always. You don't ever have to ask.
Well, what did you stream?
Nothing, because it wasn't working.
Oh, no. Well, that sucks.
Yeah, so I blasted Hamilton all day, and I just cleaned my house, and it was fine. And I had a glass of whiskey earlier, so good.
It's 4:17 in the afternoon.
Skylar, I had a rough week.
Yeah.
But I did, 2 nights ago, I did finally watch the Friends reunion. So that was something nice that I did. I started at like midnight, and it was 2 hours long, and I didn't realize that. So I was drinking, it was the night I drank the bottle of Kung Fu Girl. I go into the living room at midnight. I was like, Richard, we're watching the Friends reunion. He's like, it is midnight. I was like, sit down. I've had a very bad day. So yeah, I did that.
Well, that's fun.
It was 2 a.m. before I got to go to bed, though. That's why I was very tired yesterday.
Oh, no, that's why Friday night, I was like, I cannot be hungover and do reminder calls. Otherwise, I will shoot myself in the face. No getting hungover. And I didn't. But I still, like, I didn't get home from the bar until well past 1 a.m. And I was like, cool.
Yeah. So go ahead, talk about your weekend.
Yeah, so my friends came to visit. So the way that they kind of, like, meet up is that, like, 1 month, one of them, like, Maddie will go to Kansas City, and then the next month, Cassian will go to Tennessee, and then the next month, they'll meet in Kentucky as their halfway point. And so they were meeting in our town this weekend, and they got here on Thursday, so then they came to see me at work on Friday. And they said that they weren't going to come on Friday, but then they did. Because they were like, we're going to come on Saturday. I was like, okay. I was like, we have a sale today, though. Like, trying to get them to come see me early because I missed them. So I wanted to see them, like, that minute.
Guilt tripped them?
No, I was like, we have a sale today, though, if you guys want to stop by today. And Cassian just didn't reply, and I was like, oh, it's fine. They probably just want to have the day to themselves then, since we're going to hang out tonight. But then they showed up, and, like, I saw Cassian through the curtains of the employee area, and I was like, Cassian! So they came to see me at work, and then Friday, we went out to my dad's distillery, and then we went to the Axe Throwing Bar restaurant that's in our town. And it was really, really fun, and we just hung out. We all sat around a table and smoked a hookah together. Like, we just had a hookah in the middle of our table with all the employees at the Axe Throwing Bar restaurant place. It was really fun. But then Saturday was even better because we went to the brewery to see 2 local bands play for a charity event. And so we just hung out and we watched, Come Down Kings and 2 Weeks Notice play, and it was awesome because I love them and they loved it, and we just all had a good time. And then we went and we white girl danced back at my dad's distillery because the DJs were there. So me and Maddie just got we're just drinking a lot and white girl dancing in the front of the thing because the bars are finally open and you can have stand up and do stuff. And since we were all vaccinated, we were like, yes, let's party together and stand up and dance together because we're all vaccinated, so it's cool. And yeah, it was just really fun, and I'm excited to go see them for brunch tomorrow.
Anything else to discuss?
No,
because it has been 15 minutes.
Okay. Do you want me to say the sentence?
Yeah.
You guys are going to learn your first sentence.
Yeah, so we might do a little combo of this episode just because it just makes sense.
So, 你要去 Beijing 吗? Which means, do you want to go to Beijing? And then you could say 我要去 Beijing, which means I do want to go to Beijing. 我 Yao. Mm-hmm. Chu.
Chu.
Beijing.
Beijing.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a bounce to the Bei, because it's the E is like, it's got the third tone, which we will get into. So it's Beijing.
Beijing.
Mm-hmm.
Is how I'm supposed to say it?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to have to say it a lot.
Yeah, but you can, I mean, like, no one's going to fault you if you say just Beijing.
Beijing.
Yeah.
Beijing. There'll be a lot of places I'm probably going to need your help.
And that's not to say, there are some that I, especially because I don't know if you'll have the tones over them.
Not in my note.
Yeah, so I will do my best based on the consonants and vowel sounds, but if the tones are wrong for it.
Yeah, all of us is just two people who like to learn about other places, and we're just trying our best.
We're trying our best. And yeah, so neither of us are going to be perfect at this, especially mine. Mine is not going to be perfect.
No, mine isn't either. Yeah, I'm going to do some facts and travel info and maybe a little bit of culture about Beijing. I had originally intended to do multiple places where they spoke Mandarin, like specifically Skylar suggested northern China, but I got focused in and there was just so much about Beijing because it is Beijing. It's like,
yeah, it's a very big city.
Yeah, so there was just a whole lot to cover here, and I got to the point where I had like 7 or 8 notes and I was like, I don't know if I could do anything else because Skylar, I know, is going to have a lengthy session. Also,
well, it's really not that long, but when we kind of get
knowing
talking,
how we
maybe,
are,
yeah. So I did have a question. When I said northern China, were you kind of surprised that it was mainly just like northern and kind of like southwestern, or did you think maybe because I guess what was I trying? Basically, I was surprised when I found out that Hong Kong's original dialect isn't Mandarin. They know how to speak Mandarin because it's like the biggest dialect and the most well-known. But Hong Kong, even though it's the capital of China, they use the Cantonese dialect.
Yeah, I guess I was surprised when you just sent me a list of places that would be good to choose from. And so I was surprised to not see Hong Kong, and there was another one I was surprised not to see. But I was like, oh, Beijing, that makes sense. And I guess everything else just fell through. And I do bring up some Cantonese stuff a little bit in my notes also.
Yeah. I was going to go over the dialects, but I decided not to because I was like, that might be a little... Maybe next time.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with just some like basic facts just about Beijing as a whole that I always thought going to China would be cool, but I never had anywhere specific in mind, and I didn't really know about the specific places, just like in general, like Great Wall of China, you know, blah blah blah. Now I think I kind of want to go to Beijing. Sounds really cool. So
we'll make a trip out of it.
Yeah, we'll be there. Don't worry. So let's learn some basic facts.
You could ever take a break from work.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Beijing is the capital of the People's Republic of China. It is the world's most populous national capital city, with over 21 million residents within an administrative area of 16,410 kilometers. So, big fucking city.
I'm like, that was a lot of numbers that...
But basically, it's the world's most populous national capital city, and that just tells you what you need to know right there, I think. It is governed as a municipality under...
So is that like per square mile?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
I'm just kind of... Because, like, I was trying to think of it, is it, like, the most people or the most people per square kilometer?
Within an administrative area. So that might be similar to how we would phrase that here as per square mile. Because I think I even read something about they do it within administrative areas.
Okay.
So I didn't go into detail about that because it seemed very technical and political. I'm not getting that much into the government stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I was just more thinking, because isn't like Los Angeles is like not the most populated place, but it's the most populated place per square mile of Los Angeles? Is that correct? Or something like that?
I don't know. Los Angeles is the most populated place of Los Angeles.
In the United States.
Because that's what you just said.
I didn't know if it was like...
I mean, that would make sense. Or New York.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not good about that kind of stuff.
I was like, because like Texas probably the most populated state.
I know.
It's the biggest, but I think Los Angeles is the biggest population per square.
There's lots of different like variations because you could pick like one specific thing and be like, oh well, this place is this place is the top of that. So it's just you can pick very specific parameters.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. I just found that one. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I was just trying to think of it in, like, relation to, like, what it was kind of actually saying, trying to figure out, but yeah.
Whatever an administrative area is, guys.
Yeah. I barely scraped by with a B in AP Human Geography my freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
I got a 1 on the AP exam, but that was actually because they messed up my booklet.
And this next fact, it might go into that because it goes a little bit, like, it's governed as a municipality under the direct administration of the state council with 16 districts. So within that, it probably ties into the most populous national capital city. I never liked government. I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, I'm not great at the whole human geography thing.
Yeah, so these first few facts are very much that, but I just thought I'd throw them out.
Because you said a lot of words that I don't know what they mean.
Just keep going.
Okay.
It's a global city and one of the world's leading centers for culture, politics, business, economics, education, language, and urban population after Shanghai. Beijing's history can be traced back 3,000 years. It's about as old as London, it's 6 times older than New York, and it's 10 times older than Sydney, Australia. It's an old city. One of the oldest inhabited areas in the world. Fossils there indicate that, is it Peking Man?
I would say so, yeah. Peking.
Okay. Indicate that Peking, which is basically like the first humans.
Okay.
It's how they say that. So fossils indicate that Peking Man lived there from 770,000 to 230,000 years ago. And you can actually view the fossils at the Peking Man World Heritage Site at this place. Skylar will pronounce.
I will try to pronounce. Jukotian?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you go to this place, there is a museum, basically, and you can go see fossils of, like, the first people that lived there, which is really cool. From 770,000 years ago.
Yeah, that is really cool.
That was a long time ago. This is something I didn't know. It was not always called Beijing. So it actually got the name Beijing in 1403. And it had a series of other names, which we can go through them if you are interested, and we can pronounce the different things, or I'm going to skip ahead. Because I didn't list them all, but there's just, like, some of the former places that were Beijing.
Jicheng, Yanjing, Nanjing, Zhongdu, Dadu, Beiping.
And then lots more. Beijing was actually the 16th name given to it. So it had 15 other names first before they settled on Beijing, which I thought was kind of cool. It's home to the headquarters of most of China's largest state-owned companies and houses the largest number of Fortune Global 500 companies in the world, which ties back into it being that global city with all these people. And also this next fact.
So does Fortune 500 mean cars?
The Fortune 500 companies are, like, the bigger companies. I don't know anything about businesses either, but I think, like, Fortune 500 would be, like, Amazon, Google, like, big companies.
For some reason,
I could be totally ignorant, and that's
I always
wrong.
thought Fortune 500 was cars, but maybe it's just
like Daytona 500?
Maybe! So I'm like, yeah, Fortune 500 companies. That's car companies.
They're really big into racing in Beijing. No, Fortune 500 are just, like, the big companies.
Gotcha.
Like
Okay.
the powerhouses.
Oh.
Which goes into this next fact. Beijing is the billionaire capital of the world, with the highest number of billionaires living in the city. So go get you a rich person
I was about to say, there goes. I'm like, I know where I'm going to get my sugar daddy.
But yeah, I was just like, wow, that's crazy. There is a new 144-hour visa-free transit policy. So this kind of goes into the travel part, which makes the city a more convenient travel destination. So this new policy, it actually allows travelers from 53 countries to enjoy a 6-day trip in Beijing without a visa. So even if you're, like, stressing, because that's used to be a big deal, is having a visa to travel, especially, like, China. But then they have this new 144-hour policy, because they were like, people want to come here, we want tourism, that's what a lot of big cities thrive on. So now you can actually go to enjoy Beijing without having to worry about that. Which is really nice, because sometimes it's really hard to get a visa. From Beijing, it is easy to travel by plane or direct bullet train to most other China destinations. So that's also where that non-visa policy comes into handy, because you can go there, spend a couple of days, and then really easily get around from this central hub.
Cool.
The Beijing Capital International Airport has been the second busiest in the world by passenger traffic since 2010. So the place stays booming, which I've been to small airports that are busy. I can't imagine going to the second busiest in the world. Like, that sounds stressful for one. But I bet they handle it a lot better than American airports, so.
I've never been to an airport, so I'd probably cry.
Oh my god. I just take Skylar on an airport trip one day.
We don't even actually go anywhere. We just go look at airports and, like, go through the system and be like, yep, nope, we're done now.
God, the most chaotic airport that stresses me out is the Atlanta airport. It's fucking huge, and it's chaos.
I've driven to Atlanta.
No, there's, like, a mall in their airport. Like, it's insane.
Oh, weird.
And there are some weird airports. There's one, I think it's in Taiwan, maybe, but there's just, like, an amusement park in the air. Like, it's insanity. Like, some airports are crazy, but this one probably crazy also. Second busiest. Airports stress me out. The Beijing International Airport is the largest single structure airport terminal in the world. So they have two just, like, really big airports there, essentially.
Cool.
The best times to visit are spring and fall. So that's April, May, September, October, and November. Because Beijing is a city of extremes when it comes to temperatures. So the highest temperature it can get there is 109 degrees Fahrenheit, while the lowest is negative 17 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's why spring and fall are the best, people try to tell tourists.
Sounds very similar to here.
I don't think we ever get negative 17, though.
I'm pretty sure it got down there during the ice storm.
That was a rare occurrence. This is on the regular.
Oh, that's fair.
Just like 109. Like, we have humidity here, but it's rare to get over 100 here on the actual temperature.
Yeah.
On the feels like, sure, but there it's like legit temperature.
Okay.
So they definitely have extremes there for the highs and lows. So that's why they say if you're gonna go in spring and fall. But if possible, if there's any holidays going on during then, try to avoid them because obviously it gets really fucking busy with locals and tourists alike during that time. So now we're kind of go over like places to go there. I'll do like a mixture of the classic touristy things and then maybe a few like oddball things. And I'm
excited to learn.
I'm gonna try to mix in some culture stuff too, or at least I tried to in my notes. So first I'm gonna talk about the Forbidden City. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay. So the Forbidden City was built during the Ming Dynasty in the early 1400s. So it was the home and central administration point of China's emperors during the Ming and Qing dynasties. It spans 180 acres and is in the center of the city. It's considered the heart of Beijing. So it's like smack dab in the middle of Beijing, and it was there from like the emperor days. It houses the Palace Museum, which some people say the Palace Museum is really cool, but some people say it's a little lackluster because much of the art was actually carted away to Taiwan by the nationalists after the 1949 revolution when mainland China and Taiwan parted. So some of the art got literally stolen. But I read varying accounts that some of it was actually returned to the Palace Museum. So it is still, like, I went to art school, like, I'm a sucker for an art museum, so I'll go to any, even if it's, like, the tiniest art museum in the world, I'm gonna have a good time. But some people are, like, disappointed when they go, and some people are like, oh, this is cool. But just know, if you are like, oh, I was expecting more, it's because it got stolen. Like,
Real?
art theft is serious.
Yeah, art theft is a real big issue.
So, at the Forbidden City, you can find many trees in the inner court, but no trees in the outer court. Two main theories as to why there are no trees in the outer court. This is the first one. Since the outer court was where, like, solemn public ceremonies were held, and the emperor's supreme godly power and imperial dignity were displayed here. Like, it's where, like, kind of the not-so-fun stuff happened, and it was just to make them seem like God, basically. No trees were allowed because they would overshadow or disrupt the majesty of the atmosphere, which does make sense. I like the second theory, which is a lack of vegetation would give assassins nowhere to hide and clear lines of sight for defensive purposes.
Fun!
So it was like, oh, one like thought out. It was like, oh, it's probably just so the emperors could look bigger than they were because trees would diminish them. And the second was like, so assassins can't sneak in. I was like, I like that one.
That's a fun one.
That's the theory I'm going with. There's a special fire brigade dedicated to fire prevention in the Forbidden City specifically. They check the fire equipment every day. One of their daily training exercises is to run along the city walls carrying fire hoses.
Is it a lot of wood? Is that why?
Because fire engines can't get through most of the palaces, firemen need to remember the whole layout of the Forbidden City. In the event of a fire, they must run as fast as they can to put out the fire, because the Forbidden City is one of the largest and best preserved ancient wooden complexes in the world. If a fire were to ever break out, there would be irreparable consequences.
Yeah.
Like, it's gorgeous. It's some of the oldest wood from that time period, and so they take that shit to heart.
Yeah, I remember because I was listening to our old episodes, and in the paranormal one, we talked about how in Charleston, and then like it just kept burning down, and then how in Maine, when you were on that tour, that they were like, yeah, the city burned down 5 times, and I was like, yeah, that you think they would have learned, because everything was made out of wood, and everyone was using candles and oil lamps that were fire, so everything was just catching on fire, and there was no way to stop it.
Yeah, but when you think of, like, from the 1400s, it's still there. Like, I can't imagine if they were to ever, like, I don't even want to imagine, because I want to see it, because I think that's awesome as
I think it's cool. And, like, I mean, I almost cried when, like, Notre Dame burned, just because, like, it's
I did get upset. And people didn't understand why people got upset. And I'm like, sure, there are other bad things going on in the world, but you don't understand.
Yeah.
Also,
and, like,
art history stuff here. Come on.
It's just, because I think, I don't understand a lot about architecture and, like, the scientific building part of it, but I really appreciate, like, the beauty of certain
Something's
types.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yes,
like,
of certain types of architecture.
Don't hate on people being upset about
and,
that.
like, Notre Dame is a gorgeous cathedral, and like it's so beautiful, and so when it burned, I was like, so if anything ever happened to this building, I think I would lose my mind.
Oh yeah. To help with this, the Forbidden City has 94 underground hydrants, 4,866 fire extinguishers, and 55 pre-planned firefighting activities.
I wonder how they keep the wood from rotting and like termites and stuff.
Just well preserved. I'm assuming if firefighters are running drills every single day, I'm sure there's someone there every day checking and taking care of. Like, that's someone's job. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, it's a special job.
Yeah, because sometimes it's just like wood, like even if you try and take care of it, like sometimes it just kind of like things happen, and like when wood is really old, like it gets dry rotted and stuff, so that's cool that they've kept it preserved for that long.
And I'm sure like contractors and stuff and people are way smarter than us know how to do that.
Yeah, I would know how to do it.
There are 81 doornails on the gates of the Forbidden City. Because in ancient times, the number of doornails symbolized status. So 9 is the largest singular number, and it symbolized supremacy. So if you had like 9 doornails on your gate or your door, like, you were the shit. Therefore, the arrangement of the doornails on the gates of the Forbidden City is 9 rows by 9 rows, because they're like, we are the best. Because that was where the emperors were. You can do an audio guided tour here that tells you different stories while you walk around the city, and it can take, like, you can spend a whole day here easily, because it's 180 acres. Like I said, it's huge. But you can do, like, self-guided audio tours. You can just walk around. You can also hire a tour guide at the outside the main gates. I think people there, they have people that can speak a lot of different languages, so if you're more comfortable with an English, like, tour guide, you can find them there really easily, which I thought was cool. And this next fact I really liked, there are more than 100 cats living in the Forbidden City.
That's amazing.
Because many concubines kept cats in the Ming and the Qing dynasties. Although the dynasties collapsed, those cats remained in the Forbidden City for generations. Therefore, some of the cats in the Forbidden City today are the descendants of royal cats.
That's so fun!
Which I love. And of course, others are like stray cats that entered from the outside, and they would just like let them live there. And people like call them the guards of the Forbidden City.
That's so cute.
And even tour guide sites were like, these cats will move around a fixed area, patrol every corner, and catch mice. They guard the Forbidden City with their prowess.
That's so cute.
That's so cute. I gotta include that, because I love that. I'm like, wow, you know, the idea of a concubine is not great.
No, yeah.
But at least they had cats. And now their cats are still thriving.
I love that.
It's like 100 cats. That's my dream. I want a city with 100 cats. Of course, we can't not mention the Great Wall of China. Mm-hmm. So I will just really quickly. Construction of the Great Wall as a fortification against northern invaders began as early as the 17th century BCE, but most of it was completed during the Ming Dynasty. There are two main points visitors typically go on the Great Wall.
Mutianju, Badaling.
So, those two.
It could be different depending on the tones, because, like, tones matter so much.
Yeah, I don't have anything without that in
I would
here.
just say, Badaling. But do you want to know how to say the Great Wall in Mandarin?
Oh, yeah. Knock it out.
Chang, Chung.
Chung, Chung.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because the A is like the A in far, so Chang, and then the E is like in the, so Chang, Chung. But and definitely correct, like, if I am saying it wrong, like, this is just kind of how I have learned it as far as pronunciation goes, so if my pronunciation is wrong, feel free to call me out.
Yeah,
it's a learning opportunity for me as well.
And Skylar is basically self-taught on all of her languages, which is awesome, so give her credit there, but of course, we always want to know if you can teach us also, so.
Yeah, because the hardest thing about being self-taught is if you're doing something wrong, there's not like an official teacher to like be like, no, this is the correct way to do it.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the two main points that visitors typically go, but there are many other wonderful points that have amazing viewing within the Great Wall, and you can look that up yourself. Badaling, is that how you said it? Is the most popular, as it is less than an hour from Beijing, so you can get there really easily. In Badaling, you can take a cable car on the way to the top, and then you can slide down on a toboggan all the way down through a forest, which sounds badass.
What's a toboggan?
A toboggan is like...
I thought that was a hat. Or like a coat for some reason.
A toboggan is kind of like a sled, but a little different.
Okay.
Forest. But I just found that on the site. I didn't typically look into it.
That sounds really cool, though.
But it sounded really awesome, because it's like, take a cable car up, see the Great Wall, and then just go through a forest on the way back down. It's like, cool. I'll try and find a picture of it, though, so I can show you for sure.
Now I need to go visit Beijing.
Like, I never, like, it seemed cool, like China as a whole, but after doing all this research, I'm like, wow, Beijing's awesome. Yeah, a toboggan is a long, narrow sled used for the sport of coasting downhill over snow or ice. It typically is made of a lightweight board and is curved upward and frontward in the back, or in the front, so like a sled.
Okay.
And then the other place is about an hour and a half away from Beijing, and it was actually repaired to accommodate all the tourist overflow, because Badaling got so popular with tourists. They were like, we need another place, so they actually went in and they repaired it, and they're like, hey, you can also come here. Mm-hmm. So people typically go to one or the other, but Badaling is still the most popular. Another place we're going to talk about now is Tiananmen. Tiananmen Square. Okay, I wasn't sure if it looked how it looked, or...
Is that... I think I've heard of Tiananmen Square.
It's really popular.
Is that also the place where, like, the protests were happening and, like...
Probably, because it is the center of it all. It's the center of Beijing.
Okay.
Yeah. Tiananmen Square. This is the largest public square in the world, actually. Not just Beijing, in the whole world. You quite literally cannot miss it, since you basically have to walk through it to get to most of the other tourist destinations in Beijing.
Yeah, the Tiananmen Square massacre.
Oh, and if you're in Beijing, you're going to see it at some point. There is a daily flag-raising ceremony at dawn on the square, and that's really all I had about that, but if you want to talk about that, the protest or anything...
I don't know much about it. I just remember, because I think it was a protest. I mean, I'm not completely sure that it was a protest, but I remember, like, it was, because I remember it because a lot of people were killed there.
Yeah.
And that's maybe why they raise the flags at dawn every day, is to kind of remember all of the people. But it was, like, a really... I remember learning about it in history. I don't remember much about it, though, because me and history didn't get along very well.
Felt.
But I do, when I read that, I was like, I know that for some reason. I was like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people died there. And I was like, yeah, the Tiananmen Square massacre. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, if you ever go to Beijing, you're probably going to walk through it at some point, because it's literally the center, and I think I read, like, to one is the Forbidden City, to one's the Great Wall, like, the tombs are over here, like, it's, everything surrounds it. Moving on, we'll go to the Summer Palace. This was the traditional summer residence of the emperors for centuries. It's not just one palace, but is a large park with several structures, lakes. It has a reproduction of a Ming Dynasty village. It has restaurants, boat rides, and just a lot. Like, you can spend easily a whole day here. It's like got really gorgeous gardens as well as delicately carved Chinese bridges all over the lake. Like, it's just a really pretty place, and it's popular to just like go there, have lunch, spend the day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to go through these really fast now.
It sounds pretty.
The Temple of Heaven is another really like famous place, which is a little outside the center of Beijing, so it could be an all-day thing if you're staying more in town. So just kind of keep that in mind, because a lot of people say sometimes getting to the Temple of Heaven, while it feels worth it, it can be a hassle if you don't know transportation and how to get to your hotel. Because apparently it's really hard to get a cab in Beijing. Like, they don't really like to get tourists very much. Just and stuff I read multiple times. It was built in 1420, and it has a total of 270 acres. It's the largest building for religious worship in China. It was originally used by the Ming and Qing emperors to pray for a year of the rich harvest. The night market is another thing that you can do. Wangfujing is a major pedestrian shopping street. It's open from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. every night. It's home to about 100 stalls selling over 100 snacks from all over China. You can get a wide variety of food specialties, including things like centipedes, lizards, deep-fried crickets, and scorpions on sticks, as well as things like sheep penis, and so much more. So, it's a lot of traditional foods there.
I'm not a big food adventurer. Very much the type of person...
You probably won't eat much at the night market.
Yeah, no, probably not. I'm very much a person who goes to,
so they also have, like, dumplings, and they have shrimp, also.
Yeah, but, like, I will go to a restaurant, even if it's a fancy restaurant. If I've never been there before and I don't know what the food tastes like, I'm the bitch that orders chicken tenders.
That's no way to be. I mean, people can do what they want, but if you like adventure and you want to try a wide variety of, like, Eastern-centric foods, night market probably has it all.
I remember when Hot Topic used to sell, like, bugs to eat.
They probably still do. I mean, bugs are good for you. It's protein. I mean, you never had those suckers with the scorpions in them?
No.
It's just a scorpion. It's fine. It's just crunchy.
I don't eat a lot of meat. Especially
It's barely meat. It's mostly shell. Not saying like I eat bugs all the time, but if we ever get in an apocalyptic state, I could probably survive, because I could probably crunch down a scorpion or two.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would be happy with passing away.
Just leave me here to die. What if you had to eat a spider to survive? But you would be its predator then.
Still, no, did I tell you that story about the one time when a spider ended up in my coffee and I didn't know until I was like, there's something weird in my mouth. So I spit it back out and I was like, what is going on? And then I looked and I kind of moved the coffee around and realized there was something in there. So I started pouring it down the sink because I was like, I don't know what that is. And it was a spider in my coffee that I had in my mouth before I spit it back out. And I cried for like 30 minutes. I was like hyperventilating and panicking, and my mom was like, what is wrong? I was like, I almost drank a spider, and she was like, what? Yeah, it was bad. It was a rough day for me.
If you ever visit Beijing, people say something you're absolutely supposed to do is you need to try Peking roast duck. Like, it's supposed to be the bomb.
Okay.
It's supposedly the most delicious food Beijing has to offer. And I've seen this multiple places, so I'm just going based on the internet. And if you're in Beijing, you say, might as well. There are 2 really famous restaurants for it. It's a little overly touristy, people will say. But if it's good, I mean, it's good. Like, it's good for a reason. And they've both, like, been around for 130 plus years. So they know what they're doing. And at one of them, like, it sounds good. So let me just tell you what they do to cook this duck and why it's supposed to be so good. The ducks are immersed in condiments unique to the restaurant, and are lightly roasted directly over flames that are stoked by fruit tree wood. The best duck is date red, shining with oil, but with a crisp skin and tender meat. The chef cuts the meat into thin slices at your table and is served with Chinese onions and special sauce.
Interesting.
Like it's a whole shebang ordeal, and if you go there, it's just something people are like, you haven't been to Beijing if you haven't had this dish. So, I mean, of course, if you're a vegetarian, obviously you're probably not going to have it, but just throwing it out there. Another really popular thing that you can do in Beijing is you can actually try imperial court food. So this is a style of Chinese food that has its origins in the imperial palace. It's based on foods that were served to emperors and the court. So there is one particular restaurant that's actually located in the Summer Palace that I talked about, which is said to serve some of the best versions of this style. It is a little expensive, but a lot of people are like, you would never have had this opportunity if you lived during the time when it was popular, like with the emperors, so you might as well. Yeah. Because if you lived 150 years ago, you would never get to try this in your life if you weren't part of the imperial court. Yeah. So maybe dish it out the money and just do it at least once at the Summer Palace, because it's an experience.
Yeah, and it would be worth it, even if it is just a little pricey. Like, there are certain things like that. It's like, yeah, sure, it's a little pricey, but for the experience of it, it's definitely worth it.
That's me when I buy sushi every time.
Yeah, sushi, like, I'm gonna get the whole shebang.
Another, like, just a staple for kind of the area is, like, in the medicinal foods category. There are still some places, I think someone said one of the hotels actually has the best reputation of serving this style of food. But medicinal, when it comes to China, basically the top tier things the food will include are ginseng, deer musk, bear's paw, Chinese wolfberry, and soft-shelled turtle. So
I do love ginseng.
There are some restaurants still there now that are like infusing foods with those recipes if you're interested in medicinal traditional foods.
Yeah, anytime I have strep, that ginseng and honey Arizona tea, that is my go-to.
Yeah, of those 5, I think ginseng is the only one I can relate to.
Yeah, I've never had any of the other things.
No deer musk. I don't think I can eat turtle. Like,
but I fucks with ginseng.
We've probably all heard of hot pot, but I'll just kind of go over a little bit. Hot pot is a favorite with the local people since the Beijing winters can get very cold, going back to that negative 17 degrees on the reg.
I didn't even think about hot pot as far as a Chinese dish goes, because I know in South Korea hot pot is like a really big thing, but I didn't realize.
I'll get into the specifics.
Okay, cool.
Traditional Beijing hot pot involves boiling thin slices of mutton. Mutton only is traditional Beijing.
Mutton sheep, right?
Okay. In a traditional broth with fresh veggies, and this is also known as Mongolian hot pot. So Mongolian hot pot is traditional Beijing hot pot. So in recent years, Cantonese and the Sichuan flavor hot pots have grown in popularity. So like the really spicy or like bringing in seafood or stuff like that. But just a traditional Mongolian hot pot is the Beijing style.
Hello, Bird.
Bye. Oh my god, Mochi would have lost her shit.
I know. Right then. Luckily, she's taking a nap.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Bird just got real close to the window and then just took off.
Just popping in.
Wanted to say hello. Came to visit the podcast.
Another hot pot trend is that many places now offer self-service hot pot, where you can kind of select your own hot pot ingredients, broth seasonings, and condiments in an all-you-can-eat style setting, which is probably what most Americans know hot pot as. I think that's also a type that's really popular, like you mentioned, in Korea, is the kind of like build your own, do it your own.
Yeah, South Korea is very big on the
like the barbecue.
Yeah, you cook your own meat, you can order whatever you want, and you have a grill in the middle of your table, and you just go ham.
Yeah. But yeah, for traditional Beijing Mongolian hot pot, there is a restaurant that they recommend, Demolition Restaurant, for that there in Beijing. We all probably know about dumplings, but I
fucking love dumplings. Listen, dumplings are my favorite food ever. Jiaozi.
I'm just going to say dumplings. In the later years of the Eastern Han period, an official called Zhang Zhongjing created dumplings to help poor people keep warm in cold winter.
I love you.
It was made with all kinds of fillings, such as mutton, which is really big in Beijing, hot pepper, and some medicinal materials, kind of like I talked about earlier. And then afterwards, people began to make dumplings just on their own, just common people, because they were made for poor people. Because in general, it's like, hey, you're really cold, have a hot dumpling. It's like, yes, thank you. It's a big staple for like spring festivals. People make dumplings. Generally, they prepare it before midnight on the last day of the passing lunar year. and they eat it after the New Year's bell is sounded. Dumplings that look like a shoe-shaped gold and silver ingot. So when people eat it during festivals, they really hope it could bring fortune and good luck to them. So that's kind of what they shape them and mold it to be for the new year. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people will add some sweets, Chinese dates and chestnuts in the fillings to some dumplings to express their wishes. So they hope that those who get sweets could have a sweeter life. Those who get dates and chestnuts could have babies early, because dates and chestnuts are similar, like a representation of children. So just kind of put what you want into your life in your dumpling, basically.
That's cool. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So every filling has a different meaning, especially if it goes with specific holidays.
That's cool.
And we kind of touched on how we talked about in Korea, barbecue is really popular. Barbecue is also really popular in Beijing. It's basically up there with the roast duck and the hot pot. It's another really popular one there, and it can be traced to the ancient nomad times in northern China. Meat, it's usually, again, veal or mutton, because mutton is very popular. It's cut into thin slices, then soaked into a mixture of soy sauce, a kind of special wine, ginger liqueur, white sugar, and some other seasonings. After that, you put the meat into the grill and turn it over for several times until it gets cooked with long chopsticks. The next thing to do is to serve it together with pancakes, sweet garlic, and cucumber. And that's traditional barbecue. I was going to go over a couple of deities. So, like I said, I found this on some tourist websites, and it was from Beijing, the cultural center. So it was just under the deities worship category, which I am always been really intrigued with different cultures' deities, so I kind of threw it in. So one of them is the White Horse Vanguard. So in all their deity worship is on a traditional block print figure, so a wood block print, but it's just basically you carve something out in wood and then you ink it and then you print it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, so that's how they do a lot of their worship was through this. And so a traditional figure woodblock print, it was with simple lines, fine cuts. The print features the image of a venerable old man on a galloping white horse. So this is the White Horse Vanguard. It was burned to open a way for God ascending to heaven or invite heavenly immortals to descend to this world during the sacrificial ceremony. And also the same deity would be burned, the print of it would be burned after a child had a shock and wasn't... After a child had a shock is how it was written. So it's just how I wrote it.
Is it trauma? What?
I think a nightmare
is
what they meant, but they wrote it as after a child had a shock.
I'm do they have PTSD?
Because
are the children traumatized?
Because the next part was and wasn't sleeping well.
Oh,
so
okay. So it could probably just
nightmare.
be a nightmare. Yeah, that's funny.
The print.
I mean, that's not funny, but that's funny.
No, I'm gonna start saying that now. I had a shock. I didn't sleep well. The print would be burned in order to quote recover the child's lost soul.
Okay.
So that was how they would also worship that deity. If your child wasn't sleeping, you would burn the White Horse Vanguard.
That idea that just because a child was having a nightmare and didn't sleep,
they lost their soul.
That means they lost their soul.
Yeah, casual.
I think stuff like that is so interesting. That's probably why I liked Heaven Official's Blessing as much as I did, because it kind of got into the whole deity idea and
yeah, I love deity stuff.
Yeah. See, I don't like history, but I like that kind of history,
Yeah, I think, and it's why I think it's silly to be one God is better than the other, because if they're helping you, they're helping you. Just let people have their faith. Toxic Christians, looking at you.
Retweet.
If you want to burn a picture of a guy on a horse because your child had a nightmare and you think their soul is lost, do it. Where's the harm?
Exactly.
Another one is the Ox King. So the Ox King protected oxen and guarded them against diseases. In ancient China, the rural people offered sacrifices to the Ox King on the first day of the 10th lunar month. So they used to celebrate the king's birthday on the 25th of the 7th lunar month. But that was busy with the farming season. So they changed the date to the 1st of the 10th lunar month because they were we're too busy to worship you. We gotta knock it back.
Yeah, I need to look at the lunar calendar because I always forget. So I'm because it's not the same as it is. Like, the 10th lunar month is not October, and the 7th lunar month is not July.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I need to kind of, like, look into that just to have that in my knowledge.
Yeah, I'm really rusty. I used to know that stuff, but not anymore. This practice was followed until the end of the Qing dynasty. And then we have the Horse King, who, similar to the Ox King, the custom the custom of offering sacrifices to the Horse King can be traced back to the Zhou dynasty. Local horse owners, as well as cart drivers, gathered on the 23rd day of the 6th lunar month to celebrate the king's birthday. In old Beijing, people offered mutton instead of pork because the king was allegedly Muslim. So, they took that into consideration. The god was portrayed with 4 arms and 3 eyes. He was armored and awe-inspiring. Local military officers in ancient China also joined in the celebration. So they were, like, all for it. And they were considerate of people's diets and religious beliefs. And that's basically all I have on my culture and travel. I just did a very shallow dive because, like I said, it's already been an hour. So I'm glad I didn't go deeper. But those specific deities, if you're just wondering, it's because it was from the official Beijing, like, travel website, and
cool.
It's what they talked about. So that's why I included those specifics.
I like that. That was
I'm
fun.
sure there's more.
Yeah.
But I learned stuff, so I just thought some of that stuff was cool.
Yeah,
so.
I learned a lot, because
And I'm always down to talk about food. I love cultures, food.
Yeah, but now I'm hungry and want dumplings. Even though Brittany's house husband or house boyfriend is downstairs making veggie spaghetti, which it definitely smells good. All right, so now I'm going to teach you guys some Mandarin, hopefully. So to start, I do want to start with the tones, because the tones are very, very important, because if you take like ma, and it's like the first tone, it's just ma, and it's high, it's flat, it doesn't rise, it doesn't fall, anything like that, it's just ma, and that means mother. But then ma, which has that curve, means horse. So it's like, gotta be careful with your tones. But what I found really helpful is good to know these. It's good to practice them and good to try and always get them right. But from this podcast I listened to called Coffee Break Chinese, the Chinese teacher, she said, tones are very important. And when you are practicing, you want to focus on them. But if you're speaking really quickly, you focus less on the tones just because you're talking through it. So whereas, like, if I'm going to say, like, hello, which hello is ni hao. But if you just say it quickly, like, ni hao, it's not that intense. And, like, people will be able to tell it with context. So, like, don't stress over the tones too much, but, try and get them correct at least a little bit. Mochi, that's your own tale, honey.
Every time Skylar's segment starts, Mochi decides to come and cause chaos.
I know, I don't know what it is.
You just bring it out of her.
Yeah, so there are 4 official tones, but then like a 5th tone, and we'll get to that, but it's not an official tone or anything. So the first tone is the flat high tone. So it's and we're just going to use ma as for all of them. So ma, and like in maybe, like it's high and it's flat. So just a flat high tone. And then you have your second tone, which is your rising tone. So it's ma. So you just kind of rise, kind of like in what, like how you rise that A in what. Mm-hmm. And so then ma, and that actually means numb.
Okay.
And then the third tone is your scoop tone, and it's just a little curve. So it's like so it goes down and then back up, like a scoop. So just low to high, and then it's ma, which is horse. And then you got your fourth tone, which is your falling tone. So ma. Mm-hmm. So in the difference, it's kind of hard to tell, like sometimes with rising and falling, but like ma.
Yeah.
And that means to scold.
Like customer service voice versus normal voice.
Yeah. And so it's like ensure. That you sound how it drops in sure. That's kind of what the fourth tone is. And so ma means scold. So you've got ma, which is mother. Ma, which is num, ma, which is horse, and then ma, which is scold.
Okay.
Did that make sense at all? And did it sound different?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, like, you guys, of course, don't have the visuals that I do, which could be a downfall, but I still think it was clear.
Okay. And then you've got your fifth tone, which is just the middle neutral tone.
Okay.
So it's not a high pitch or a low pitch, and there's no...
Inflections?
Yeah, inflection. That was the word I was looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just... And that'll be all of your basic consonants and vowels will be that neutral middle tone, unless it has a tonal indicator over it. And so the 4 tones, the first tone, the flat high one, is just a straight line over the vowel. And then the second tone, which is the rising one, is a slash that's going up from left to right. The slash is going up. And then the third tone, which is the scoot tone, it's just either like you can draw like a little curve or like a V, just depending on your handwriting. So it'll literally go down then up. Like, and then your falling tone, your fourth tone, is just a slash that's going from high to low, from left to right, over the vowel. And then your middle neutral tone is just nothing over it. Okay. And there is a special rule though. So when 2 third tones are together, so like if you have 2 scoop tones, one right after the other in a word or in 2 words that are right next to each other, the first third tone becomes the second tone. So instead of, oh, Mochi, be nice to her.
What's your damage, Heather? God.
What's your damage? But yeah, so when 2 third tones are together, the first third tone becomes the second tone. So instead of it becomes ah.
Okay.
So that's the only thing. So like, and there was like a special rule with the word like boo. I remember reading that today because boo means not. And it was like a...
Means not?
Yeah.
Like N-O-T?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So boo has a rising tone, and so it's like boo. But then if you put it with yao, which means want, to say don't want, you go boo yao. So that one has a falling tone instead. But it still means I don't want. It still is a not. So like she means is, and then bushi is not.
Okay.
But then like yao is want, but then bu yao is don't want. But it's still the same word to imply a negative, but the tone switched, but it still means the same thing.
Okay.
So that's like a special rule as well.
Okay.
So those are all of your tones and just some special little switches. And then the pronunciation for most consonants and vowels, they are the same. As they are in English, they are pronounced the same. The exception are like C is makes a ts sound. So like butuo means not bad. But it makes a ts sound. So butuo.
Okay.
And then a Q makes a ch sound. So we talked about the Qing dynasty. It's spelled Q-U-I-N-G, but it's pronounced Qing instead of like a Q sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes a CH. And then X makes a SH sound, so sh. So like thank you is xie xie, but it's spelled S-I-E, or X-I-E-X-I-E, so it's xie xie. And then Z is Z, but then ZH is J, but it has like a D with it instead of more of a Z. It's more of a D, like Z and J.
I think these are always the specifics I know when I'm listening, because I watch a lot of like shows and like listen to music, but it's when I'm speaking it, I always like blank in my mind. I'm like, what is this again?
Yeah.
So
it can be
so
hard.
it's like it's one of those things. It's like it's familiar, but goldfish brain will let me remember.
Yeah. And then vowels. So the A is like fa. Then the I is like E, and the O is O, and then the E is and U is U, and then but you also have a special U, which is pronounced like the French U. So U. So like nu R is woman, but it's not you, it's nu. it's very on the pursed lips, like kind of like your French U. And it'll have the 2 dots over it when it wants you to say it like ooh instead of ooh. Pronunciation is hard to explain.
No, I mean, yeah, it is, but you're doing fine.
And then, so you've got your combination vowels. So AO is like the ow in now, and then ER is in like number. Okay. But then you have your tones because like R means 2, but R means child. So they're very different. So like R and R. But yeah, 2 and child. And then IAN is like yen. So tien. And like what I was telling you, like the Tiananmen Square, it's like tien. And then IU is like the EW and like pew. So it's like ooh.
Okay.
And then UI is wei. And so like in shui, which is water. So it's SHUI, but it's shui. And then the UE is like the UE in fluent, so it's ooh. And then an EI combination is like the A in say, and then the IE combination is like the E in where. So it's like where, It's really hard to like.
You're fine.
And then OW is like low. It's just O.
Oh.
Yeah, but so yeah. Oh. And then a UO combination is like the sword. So it's like wo.
Okay.
Swo. So those are your combination vowels.
Okay.
So that's most of their pronunciation. And then everything else is mostly the same. There's some like exceptions, but like once you just hear it a lot, like it kind of becomes easier to just pick up on it.
Mm-hmm. Just a question, just because I know.
Yeah, what's up?
If you know, do they have a lot of slang in their language, kind of like we do, or not so much? Because I know when I learned French, they had some slang, so I don't know how popular it was in Mandarin.
I don't know.
Okay.
I know there's some.
I was just curious.
There are like some phrases that like. There was a word that is used to address like an older woman, but no one uses it anymore because its connotation now is that it's kind of like a prostitute, so it's considered like offensive to use that. But then there's also like if someone asks you how you are, you can say mama hoo hoo, which is like horse tiger tiger, which means to say you're doing so, but no one uses that.
Just say you're saying so horse tiger tiger.
Yeah.
Just start saying that. No, but I was just curious because I know one of the main things you always hear.
I don't know that yet.
Is that when you like English is so hard to learn because of all of our slang. Mm-hmm. And then I just remember when I was learning French, it was like some slang, but of course not as much as in English. So I was just curious if you knew anything about if their slang.
I don't because I know Korean has a lot of slang. Korean is also very heavy on the slang, but I'm not sure about Mandarin.
It was just a generic off the wall question.
Yeah, that is an answer I do not have.
Not something you had to know. I was just curious.
So after we've done the pronunciation, I want to do grammar next, just to kind of like give you a building block to learn the vocab on. And the grammar is very simple. There is no conjugation whatsoever. There's no gender forms. So like you don't have to have a article or like la chaise in French. You don't have to memorize which nouns have a gender. And nice. So you don't have to worry about that. There are no plural forms. The way that you say something is plural. You just put the number in front of it.
Interesting.
And there are no articles, so no the, an, a, anything like that. And there's no tenses. So you don't have a different verb for past tense, present tense, or future tense. You just use the time. So like if you're going to do something tomorrow, you say tomorrow, or today, or yesterday, or next week. You don't have to change the verb. The verb is always going to be the exact same no matter who's doing it, no matter how many people are doing it, no matter when the verb is being done, it is the exact same. So it's like, God bless.
Like, yeah, that's like wild. That's Cool, though.
The sentence structure is mostly the same as English, and the word order is an SVO word order, which is subject, verb, object.
Right.
The word order for English is subject, verb, object, and then it's the same for Mandarin. It's subject, verb, object.
Okay.
So it's like,
that's nice.
cool.
Yeah.
So like, 我不会说汉语 is I, and the direct translation is I not can speak Chinese, which is just I don't/can't speak Chinese. So you start with your subject, which is I, 我, and then 不会, which is 不 means not, it's the negative. It's just a word to indicate not. So you can put it in front of anything. So for, in this instance, 会 means can. So if you put 不 in front of it, it means you can't or don't. And then 说, speak, 汉语, Chinese. But yeah, so subject, verb, object. I speak Chinese.
Yeah.
So the object Chinese, verb speak, subject I. Which is cool.
It's similar to French, because like je ne parle would be I don't speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just a few things. It just seems similar. So that's and then it's nice.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, je ne parle. Yeah.
It'd be like je ne parle français, je ne parle anglais. Yeah. So it's very simple. Like I can connect to it because I know French. So that is nice.
Did we forget? Isn't it pas?
There is a pas.
Yeah.
Je ne parle pas.
Yeah, because I was like, wait, something seems off about that. Yeah, but because anytime you negate something in French, you have to put the ne, then the verb, then pas after it. So it's like, je ne parle, je ne parle pas français. Yeah, okay. I was like, yeah. So, but yeah, it is very similar. And the way that they negate is they just put ne in front of the verb, but they have to put pas afterwards. But same with here, you negate it by putting bu.
Yeah, that's just what I thought of. I forgot about the paw, honestly.
Yeah. I did too until I was like started thinking about it.
Until you brought it up, and I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I haven't used my French in over 10 years.
Yeah, I haven't not used mine in that long, but it's been a while since I've spoken French.
No, I graduated high school 10 years ago yesterday, so it's been 10 years.
Oh my god. Did you guys
I'm
have
old
a
as
reunion?
hell. Oh, they're trying to. I am not going.
Okay.
Fuck you.
I don't have no intention to go to my high school reunion.
You don't have no intention?
I don't have any intention to go to my high school reunion in 2027.
Fucking child. Keep going.
Okay, and now I'm going to tell you how to ask questions. So when asking a question, there are 3 ways. The easiest way is just to add ma at the end of the sentence as a question marker. And that one doesn't have a tone. So it's the 5th tone. It's neutral, middle. There's no scoop, rise, flat, nothing. It's just, so if you take ni hao, or like ni hao is hello. But then if you say ni hao ma, that's how are you.
Okay.
And so all you had to do was add ma at the end.
That's simple. Yeah.
And then, or you can use the yes, no verbal construction. So if we talked about like earlier, wo bu hui sho, which is I cannot speak, you could ask the question like ni hui bu hui sho yingyu, which is can you speak English? Because you have your subject, which is you, ni, and then you have hui bu hui. So can, cannot. So it's basically your question has both the positive and the negated form of the verb in the sentence, one right after the other. So, hui, bu hui.
Okay.
And so that's asking, can you speak English? Because you have both forms. And then you would just answer it with whichever verb. So if you're going to say, no, I can't speak English, you would just say, bu hui. But if you're going to say, I can, you would just use hui. So you're just restating the question as an answer with whichever, either the yes or the no form. So that's a yes-no verbal construction.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess it would be like, I was trying to think of like a way to phrase it in English, but we really don't use a yes-no verbal construction, like hardly ever.
Mm-mm.
But I was trying to find an example. This is like one of those like more complicated like grammar forms. It's just not very common.
Yeah, my only reference is French, and that's what tu parles français would be. Do you speak French?
Yeah.
And then you would just oui or
yeah.
no.
But the thing,
So I don't know. I have no reference.
Yeah, because the thing, which we'll get to it in, like, down here, there is no yes or no in Chinese.
Okay.
You either use she, which is, or bu, which is not.
That's interesting.
And it's kind of like, it's basically saying yes or no. So, like, you could use she as, like, a yes and bu as a no, but it just means is or not.
Would that be a type of slang, technically? Because you get by doing that? As yes and as no?
No, because they wouldn't even, like...
That's what I was...
Yeah, no. So, like, if you were to ask me, like, a question, I would not just answer with she or with bu.
If you were a foreigner, though, would a local or a fluent get what you meant?
They probably would, but they would definitely... It would still be wrong, but they would understand it. They would be like, okay, yeah. And your closest would be dui, which means correct, or bu dui, which means not correct. So, like, some people will, like, ask a question, you could say, like, oh, dui, or, like, correct, or that's right, which can mean yes, but they don't have a literal word for yes or no.
Interesting.
But another way you can ask question is using your question words. So, she is who, Weishenma is why, na is which, shima is what, nar is where, ji is how many, and then zima is how.
Okay. Zima.
Yeah, zima. I love that.
That's
I love the way it sounds. So, like, I love asking, like, zima yang. It's like, even though, like, ni hao ma is like, how are you? Like, zima yang is like, what's up? And I love it because I just think saying zima yang is so fun. Zima. Okay. So we're going to do just a little bit more grammar, kind of going over pronouns and, like, the possessive form. So you have your singular and plural pronouns. So in first person, you have 我, which is I, me. It's the same. You don't have a different word for it. You just always use 我. Okay. And then for the plural, it's woman. So you just add men at the end. And then so for a second person, so you is ni. And then for a plural form of you, so like you all, would be nimen.
Okay.
And then third person is ta. And then and that's just they, them, all of it. And then so plural of them is tamen. Very simple.
Yeah.
And for third person, for he, him, she, her, and it, its, is literally pronounced the same, and the pinyin is the same. It's ta with a high flat tone. Ta, first tone. And so it's pronounced the same, written the same in pinyin, but the kangxi is different. So the actual character for it is different with he, him, and it, but it's pronounced the same and written in pinyin the same. Okay. And it's just ta. And then to indicate possession, you just have to add de after the subject and the object it's possessing. So, like, I have a couple of examples here. So, Brittany, she is a friend who is older than me, so I'd be like, 我的大姐, because 大姐 is a word used to refer to someone who is older than you, who's a female, and who you respect or are wanting to be close with. And you would just use 大姐 as like an honorific. So 我的大姐. So you are my 大姐.
Okay.
Yeah. And then so like 我的大哥 would be Richard. Because 大哥 is the older male form of 大姐. Mm-hmm. And then so if I was going to say 他的男朋友是 Richard. Her boyfriend is Richard. Okay. And then so you use ta, the third person, for her. Then de for showing possession. And then na pingyo, which is boyfriend. She, which is. And then Richard, his name.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's possession.
What would I call you?
My name.
Oh.
Yeah. Because since you're older.
Oh, okay.
You could call maybe dame, because Jeje is older sister, and then Meme is younger sister.
Okay, that's kind of what I was getting at, is that what would be like a younger...
Yeah, But I feel like most, like, for
They just
non-family members,
names.
they just name or nickname because since you're older, you don't have to...
And then worry about honorific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess Dame would work. I don't know. That's, yeah, I don't know. That would be my guess based off, like, context, but
I mean, yeah, then
who's to say?
I didn't think about, yeah. I don't have to be respectful.
Yeah, no. She can be a bitch to me all she wants.
As I do.
A lot of the time. She almost made me cry on Friday.
Shut up!
She did.
Her own mind did that to her.
Yeah.
Not me.
I thought she was mad at me.
Oh my god, I'm not mean.
No, I just have anxiety. And I'm convinced everyone hates me. But it's fine. Anyways, that's how you show possession. All you have to do is add "duh" after the subject.
Gotcha.
And then, so adjectives, they precede the word they modify. So like, how, pingyo. So pingyo is friend. And then non-pingyo is boyfriend, which we talked about earlier. And then, so how pingyo is good friend.
Okay.
And then it's the same with adverbs. So like, hun is very. So changcheng, hun, chang is the Great Wall, very long, which just means the Great Wall is long.
Makes sense.
Because hun is very, and then chang is the descriptive word and saying that it's long. And then so hun is just very, so it's modifying long. And it goes right before it. Same in English. Very long.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, we've got two negatives. So you've got bu, which is not. And then may is more like a possessive form of it. So like bu hao is not good, but then mayo means do not have. So like yo means have, do not have, you would say mayo. You wouldn't say bu yo. You would say mayo. For like possession or like an incomplete thing.
Yeah.
Like if something is incomplete, you use may as well.
Okay.
So let's get on to vocab. Which
Okay.
is more fun. I like vocabulary more than I like grammar. I know both because I did do really well in English as far as grammar and vocabulary went for those classes, but I always did prefer vocabulary because I like words. It's a writer thing, I guess.
Because I like words.
Yeah. When I write, I could give less of a fuck about the grammar, but I'm like, words. I like words. I like to see words. So we've already talked about some of them, but I'm still going to go over them just kind of hammer them in, I guess. So, ni hao is hello. Ni hao.
Ni hao?
Yeah.
I think everyone on TikTok knows that one. Because of the Caillou.
Oh. Ni hao. Yeah. But it's actually ni hao. So you get hao, which means good. And then you've got zaijian, which is goodbye. Zai.
Zai.
Jian.
Jian.
Zaijian.
Zaijian.
Perfect. If you were going to say your name, you've got 我名字叫 Skylar, which means my first name is Skylar, because 名字 is first name. So 我名字叫. And then 我姓 Bundy, 我叫 Skylar Bundy. My last name is Bundy. My name is Skylar Bundy. Okay. So you've got 姓, which is last name. So 名字 is first name, 姓 last name, and then 叫 is just name.
Okay.
And so if I was going to ask you your name, I would say 你叫什么名字? Or I could just say 你叫什么? And that would mean the same thing. You don't have to add 名字 at the end. But so 你叫什么, which is what.
Okay.
Another way to ask would be 我叫. Like if I was going to ask you your name without anything before it, that's when you would have to use 我叫什么. But then if you were like 我叫 Brittany, and I could say Nina at the end to be like, what's yours? Because you've already have what you're asking about, so your name. So 我叫 Skylar Nina, which is like, and you. So if you kind of think like, et toi.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to have the person asking the question first before you could say and you, just to kind of like give yourself context. So yeah, if I was like 我叫 Skylar Nina, you'd be answering your name.
Gotcha.
Because you know that that's what I'm asking about. But if I was just like, if I just started it being like, what's your name? I would have to say 你叫什么 or 你叫什么名字. Okay. So that's that.
Okay.
That's names. So the next thing would be like, saying it's nice to meet you, which is like hen gaoxing renshi ni. And like the run is really hard to pronounce. It's like run. It's like in the back of your throat, like the R sound comes from like back there, which is really hard for me to replicate.
Mm-hmm.
But so hen gaoxing renshi ni. And gaoxing means happy, and then renshi is meet/know. So when you put it all together, it's like nice to meet you, nice to know you.
Okay.
Hen gaoxing renshi ni. So like ni heng gaoxing is you are happy, and then so wo heng gaoxing renshi ni is I am happy to meet you, and then wo renshi ni is I know you, and then if I was gonna say like 我也认识 Richard is mean I also know Richard. So like if you were like, oh, Richard, okay. And it's like yeah, and yeah means also. So I also know Richard. Okay. But then Renshi is just no. But if you put gaoxing and Renshi together, it's like nice to meet you, nice to know you. And then yeah is also. And like hun technically means very. Like earlier when I said hung chang for Great Wall is very long. It means very, but mostly it's a way to connect a noun and an adjective.
Okay.
So even though it means very, like in this context, it doesn't mean, oh, it's very nice to meet you. I mean, it can, but it's mostly just say, it is nice to meet you. It's
That's what it's used as mostly?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you also use it for very. So like, hun hao is very good. So like, ni hao ma, I can answer hun hao, very good.
Okay.
Yeah, I already talked about, ni hao ma is how are you, zimayang is kind of how's everything, what's up, and the ways to answer that could be hun hao, very good, like we just said, and then fei chang hao, which means excellent, and fei chang is like very, like if you're doing like perfect, like it's just everything is great, like that's fei chang, and then bu tuo is not bad, but then bu zima hao is not very well. So there's kind of ways to answer that. So, hun hao, very good. Fei chang hao, excellent. Bu tuo, not bad. And then bu sima hao, not good. Not very well. Not doing great.
Not good.
So, now we're going to get to some, like, important phrases. And some of these phrases I just picked up even before I knew them, like on or learned them through Duolingo because I watched The Untamed 12 times. And the one phrase I will always remember, one is bizue, which it means shut up, which is not in these notes, but if you guys want to know how to say shut up, it's bizue. And then one of the things I always say is, it's like this important phrase I learned, or like someone once told me, like if you're going to say two things to someone, it should be thank you and sorry, like because it was a tragic show. So everyone was always saying thank you, sorry, which is 谢谢, 对不起. So 谢谢 is thank you, and then 不客气 is you're welcome, 没关系 is no worries, 对不起 is sorry, and then 没问题 is no problem. So you've got 没关系, which is no worries, 没问题, no problem.
Okay.
So I feel like 没关系 is more of just like like if someone like says something, you're like, oh, no worries. But then like 没问题 is like if you're asking for something, it would be like a response to be like, yeah, no problem. Like, gotcha. I got it. And then you've got 请, which is please. And that's got the rising tone over the I. So 请 is please. And then you've got 请问, which is excuse me, but you would ask that before a question. So if you said 请问 and then asked a question, it's excuse me, but then you've got 请在 for request. So like 在说意思, which is like say that one more time. Okay. Because you're requesting them to say something again. So just like 请在 is a request thing, whereas 请问 is excuse me and then a question.
Gotcha.
And 请 just by itself is please. So that's just some phrases. Now we're going to get into family words. There is a lot of family words. So dad is baba, mom is mama, older brother is gugu, and then younger brother is didi, and then older sister is jeje, or like, because I told her earlier, is like dajie, which is more, instead of being like an actual blood-related sister, it's more of a friend, kind of older sister, so dajie. But jeje is older sister. And then younger sister is meme, which is why I was like, I don't know if you would use that, but I guess if it follows the pattern, it would be like dame for me.
Yeah.
And then so your paternal grandfather is either zufu or yeye. You can use either.
Okay.
Zufu or yeye. And then for your paternal grandmother, it'd be zumu or nai nai.
Okay.
Both of those. And your maternal grandfather would be waigong or laoye. And then your maternal grandmother would be waipo or lao lao. There's still
Specific.
a lot more. Yeah. So your father's older brother
Oh, God.
would be bobo. And then your father's younger brother would be shushu. And your father's sister's husband would be gufu. So those are all uncles in a different way. You've got your father's older brother, Bobo, and then your father's younger brother, Shushu, and then if your father had a sister, her husband, who would also be your uncle, would be Gufu.
Okay. Specific, but I mean, we also, how you just explained it is how specific we are in English, so it's like, you can't blame them.
Yeah. Because it's like, we normally, like, we would just say, oh, like, uncle. But, like, if you were going to tell it, you'd be like, yeah, my uncle, but, like, also this is how they're related. Like,
yeah, so, like, we have it, too,
Yeah.
so it makes sense.
But then your mom's brother is slightly less specific.
Okay.
So your mom's brother is just Juju.
Oh, okay.
And that's it. Juju. I'm like, okay, so one. But then your mother's sister's husband would be Yifu.
Okay.
So you've got Juju for the brother, and then the mother's brother-in-law would be Yifu. Your father's sister would be Gugu, but your father's older brother's wife would be Bomu, and then your father's younger brother's wife would be Shinshin.
Okay.
And then your mother's sister would be Yima, and your mother's brother's wife would be Juma. But your cousins.
God.
So a younger girl cousin is Biaomei, and then a older girl cousin would be Biaoje, which is kind of goes with the Mei for younger sister,
Yeah.
Jeje for older sister, Dajie for older girl friend,
Yeah.
like close relationship. So it's got the J and the Mei, but you Biao to kind of be like cousin. And then so a younger boy cousin is Biao Di, and then an older boy cousin is Biao Ge. And then so your spouse. We're gonna get into marriage terms now and
Okay.
like family. So a spouse would either be Pei U or Airen, which I means love. So wa aini means I love you, and then Airen is literally means love person.
Okay.
Because Ren means person. So it's
Okay.
just Airen is love person, which can also mean spouse, which checks out.
I mean, yeah.
So a husband would be Zhangfu, and then a wife could either be Chizi or Tai Tai, but most people use Chizi over
Okay.
Tai Tai. They use Chizi is the more common one
Okay.
for wife. And then your children would be Haizi, and then to specify son is Arzi, and then daughter is Nu Ar.
Okay.
So that's your family. A lot of family words.
A lot of family words, but I mean, they were familiar because I've heard them before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like kind of how I was like thinking about it, because like in the Untamed they use a lot of the family words. They even use like the friend words for like daga. They use daga a lot, and then sometimes they even use like arga, which is like second older brother, and so you can also use that. So there's like daga and then like arga, which is just second older brother.
Nice.
So now we can get into the numbers. And
Okay.
then this is the last of it.
All right.
Yes. Ling is 0. Yi is 1. R is 2. Not to be confused with R, which is child, or which it literally means, so just like R is baby child. And then so if you say like Ardza is son, and then New R is daughter, but it's like R. But then if you have R, that's 2. So Yi R san se wu liu qi ba jiu shi. That's 1 through 10.
Okay. Nice.
And then their number system is very, very simple. Past that, so the other specifics is bai, which is 100, chen, which is 1,000, wan, which is 10,000, and then like shiwan is 100,000. So if wan is 10,000, shiwan is 100,000. Then baiwan is 1,000,000, and then Chenwan is 10 million? Yeah, 10 million. But the number system is very just like straightforward. So 11, Shi. So if Yi is 1, Shi is 10. 11 is 10, 1.
Okay.
Shi. And then 20 is Arshi. So 2, 10, Arshi. Then 21 would be Arshi Yi.
Okay.
2, 10, 1. So it's kind of like a little bit of math. It's kind of like in French.
Yeah.
Yeah, because French does the same thing.
They do, yeah.
And then literally like throw me a number.
84.
So that would be ba shi si. Shi. Yeah, ba shi si. Shi. Yeah.
Okay.
So 8, 10, 4.
Yeah. I get it.
But the only thing that kind of changes is when you get to 200, instead of saying arbai, you say liang bai. And then like liang chen for 2, which people still use arbai. Like you can still say arbai or archen. They're both correct, but people do use liang for 200 and 2,000. But even for like 20, they still use arshi. They don't say liang shi.
Okay.
But then bai and chen go either way. So liang also means 2.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes. And then, so, like, 111 would be Yi Bai, Yi Shi, Yi. 100, 110, and then 1.
Simple.
111.
Yeah.
It's very straightforward, which I like.
Yeah,
because, like,
it is.
In Korean, when I was trying to learn the numbers, one of the number systems was so complicated. I was like, and they also have 2 number systems, and I'm like, when am I supposed to use which number system? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds complicated.
And then another way, and so to say first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, just add the word D in front of it. So D is first, DR is second, Disan is third. And then so on and so forth. Disa, fourth. And then so if you take the word si and put it at the end of the number, so yitsa is once, liangsa is twice. But yeah, so once, twice. And then if you add bei at the end of the number, it's like, it means double or triple. So like bei, so liang bei is a double, san bei is triple, si bei would be quadrupled, wu bei would be quintupled.
Okay.
So on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's very straightforward and simple, which I like. I like straightforward and simple.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
So that's it. That's my teaching you Mandarin for this episode. I hope it went okay and you guys learned something and that I didn't completely fuck up any pronunciation or tones, because I just kind of sped through it without focusing too much on it. And like I said, when I was listening to Coffee Break Chinese, I was like, one of the things that they said is like, when you're going that fast, you're not going to have that much emphasis on the tone and people are going to kind of know your context. And I was like, as long as you get close. And I was like, I think I was pretty close. I hope I was pretty close. And hopefully you guys learned something and thought it was neat to know now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was informative. Do you feel okay about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm nervous.
I know you are, but I think you're probably better than you give yourself credit for.
Just like this half-white bitch showing up to teach people Mandarin.
I mean, at least you try. I mean,
Yeah.
That's all we can emphasize here.
Yes, another disclaimer for the beginning and the end. I'm not fluent. This is just to try and have fun with it because it's something I'm interested in and like learning and like knowing.
And we open conversations to better learn us. Like, do it.
Yeah.
Come on. Challenge you.
Yeah, please correct me on anything I did wrong, honestly. Because I'm sure there's
something I did wrong, and if not one thing, multiple things.
And if she taught you something, let her know. She would love that too.
I would. I really would.
But I think so. I do. I said multiple times. It was weirdly very similar to French, which
I didn't even think about that until you pointed it out, and I was like, oh my goodness. And like as I started thinking about it, as we kept going through, I'm like, the number system was similar, the negation forms were similar,
which I like, which is why maybe I was able to kind of follow along, at least with what you were meaning.
Yeah. Mochi, are you gonna spin our wheel, or are you just gonna rub the words off?
Yeah, we probably didn't wrap this out because she was driving me crazy. Yeah, so that was our first stab at this category.
Since it is our first one, if for stuff like this, on our first ones when we don't really know what we're doing, we definitely take constructive criticism. If there's like a different way you would want it formed, or like if you kind of liked the way it was formatted, definitely let us know. And if it's something you guys liked, we will keep doing it that way, because I kind of liked it this way. I think it worked out pretty well. But if not, and if you guys have a different idea for how we should do it, let us know, and we will see if that works better next time.
Yeah, this is definitely a learning period, so we take all ideas and constructive criticism. We're learning just like you. But I guess it's time to spin for next week.
Yeah, let me get the drink wheel ready.
And I'll use this time to kind of plug. Where can they reach out to us at, Skylar?
So they can find our podcast on Twitter and Instagram at sipinspinpod, or you can email us at sipinspinpod@gmail.com. And you can reach Brittany at
Whimsy Dream or Whimsy Dreams on most things. And you can find Skylar at
Gleam YKS on everything. All of our link trees will definitely be down below.
They are. And there are actually 2 new link tree options through the Sip and Spin option. I've started putting all of our backlogged episodes on YouTube. So you can now find all past, not all, because I'm still working on it. I have the first 4 or 5 of our episodes up on YouTube. Because I know some people prefer to listen on YouTube. Mm-hmm. That's just a thing people have. So there's no video or anything. It's still just this. If you listen to this on Spotify or Apple or Google, whatever you listen to podcasts on, you're not missing anything if you don't listen to the YouTube. But some people prefer YouTube. Mm-hmm. So I'm starting to slowly add us to YouTube. Bear with me as I work on that. And we've also started making Spotify playlists.
Yes.
That is also now linked in our link tree if you want to listen to music that we like, or like themed music. So it's still a work in progress. Our YouTube also, some of them I've matched the playlist to the music videos for the songs. I can't promise I'll keep that up going forward because it's a lot of work to match them.
That's really cool.
But
look at Brittany.
There's a couple of those. And we might be doing some like game videos soon. And that will also be up on our YouTube.
Yeah, we actually have we're probably gonna eat and then play The Sims. I don't know if we'll stream it or if we'll just record it and put it on YouTube later.
I think we'll start with YouTube, and then we'll, for like special occasions, we might stream if you guys are into that.
Yeah, if you guys want that.
So definitely look for us there.
Yeah,
on YouTube.
Just keep checked in.
But I think we're ready to spin now.
Yes, let's do it. I'm gonna get to talk about my mans! The Diogenes, here we come!
Okay. So what did we get?
We got Ancient.
Yeah, which is new.
Yeah, we haven't done Ancient yet. So I'm gonna get to talk about Diogenes.
Yeah, Ancient. And what are we drinking?
Red wine.
Oh! Again. I mean, I think that's fitting.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, it kind of goes together. So yeah, tune in next week for Ancient and red wine. And I'm going to be talking about Diogenes because he was all about the, criticizing everything. He's very nihilistic. He just didn't give a fuck about anything. He and Plato, were beefing, and I'm ready to talk about some ancient Greek philosopher beef. I'm ready.
But yeah, tune in next week, and we thank you for listening.
We do, yes, thank you very much. I hope you guys like this episode.
Skylar has a saying. Do you want to say it?
Okay, stick with me. I've never said this phrase before. So, 下个星期我们一起喝你. Next week, we will drink with you.
So Skylar basically just said, we'll sip with you next time.